Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some very intriguing kind of information, outlash, and all that type of stuff when it comes to the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, as you guys probably know, today is the very first day of the PS5 Pro, but there has been a lot of testing and earlier, well, I guess just like litmus testing, frame testing, performance testing when it comes to the PS5 Pro. We've covered a lot of this on our channel too already, and we also did talk about this on a prior video as well, discussing the fact of like, well, some games are actually not going to have a very consistent and solid 60 FPS. And some people are actually kind of calling out PlayStation and saying that this is a problem, they were expecting a lot more, and how some games are actually not performing as well as people are expecting. Now, I do want to go and say a few kind of quick notes too before we dive into the nitty gritty of this one. Number one is that this is only for a few select games. There is also a general performance boost, and of course as well, some of these games, even on say PC, are also still having issues from optimization, performance issues, engine issues, or just a very taxing game such as Wukong or Elden Ring with a lot of different types of foliage and open world and all that type of stuff as well. So keep that in mind that it's not going to be that bad. At the high level too, the PlayStation 5 Pro still will have performances. But funny enough, although this is a big deal and people are critiquing it because the comments are valid, and a lot of people are kind of expecting a solid 4K 60 or like something along those lines when it comes to an improved console, and the fact that it did not hit that does go and disappoint some folks. But just for the duality of being a YouTuber, and I'm saying it right now, we're probably going to have an opposite video because some games are not performing up to scuff and some are doing amazing. So this is more the topic for the not up to scuff, so you guys can be an informed basically buyer, or at least be aware of the news. And then later on tonight, we'll probably have the proper one where it's a little bit better. So don't mind me, I'm not trying to clickbait, but I will be very curious to see on which video does better and is which like kind of how the reception kind of is. It's kind of like the almost litmus testing. If you guys know me about me being a YouTuber, is I always kind of find fun when it comes to some things being good and bad and what kind of performs better and worse. I do always stand by my opinions though, so I'm going to go talk about this opinion on the fact that the PlayStation 5 Pro is upsetting some folks that it's not performing as up to scuff as people expect. So subscribe if you guys are new, give me your thoughts and comments and everything down below. Subscribe for a PS5 Pro giveaway, and all the bonus entries are down below, and all the affiliate links to pick up your own PS5 that came out as of today. And let me know if you guys can go get one in the comment section down below. Sorry for a longer intro, let's dive into the news. So right now, and it's kind of funny because some people are kind of into it, some people are protecting the PS5 Pro, some people are kind of against it. Where right now we're seeing a lot of basically results and news based on the Digital Foundry, early testing, and now people physically having their hands on their consoles, talk about how certain games are not running to a proper extent. Now, here's an example over here. Here's an example over here from Digital Foundry where they're talking about the most recent Final Fantasy 16, where at a point throughout the game, there was a lot of issues where the game itself was not even running at a consistent 60 FPS. And this is also one of those games, too, that was a PlayStation 5 exclusive game initially, worked with Square Enix to make it happen. And looking through the actual logic and gameplay right over here from Digital Foundry, it's showing that the Pro is putting at like 51, 49, 48, and basically a very consistent 50 frame, which people are kind of expecting the standard of a 60 FPS. And as well as a lot of people looking at a 30 FPS is also some of their own proper standard too. We kind of have the 4K 30, or basically like a 1080 1440p 60, and basically pushing either with frames or for performance. And that's the big deal with the Pro, is that they want to mesh both. You get that 60 FPS 4K experience, but not every game, especially third parties, are actually hitting that. Now, I myself am okay with this. Some games have had way better performance and they've had a chance to use PSSR, and we'll cover that in another video later on tonight. But as of right this second, people are kind of left wanting more. And as well, there also is still a day one patch that some of this preview stuff didn't have a chance to go and cover too as well. But it's crazy because some people are being like, hey man, like that's just dumb. You know, the PS5 Pro isn't patched yet, etc. But as well, some games are just gonna be a lot more taxing, harder to optimize, and even for things on PC have a lot of issues. Another good example of here too is from the Pro version of Wukong, saying the Black Myth Wukong can't even go and maintain 60 FPS at all, and even drops to 32 FPS on performance mode, which I do want to go and say on both spectrums. This is a somewhat, well, I don't want to say a problem per se, because we're not guaranteed to hit 60, we're not guaranteed. Now, as well, this also is an improvement for the PS5, and I think that's the big topic that people care about. It is an improvement, no matter what, over the PS5, so you spend the extra money on it. But once again, some of these area zones, like say like this fog that's being rendered, all these different characters in the background, even for me on PC, the game itself did not run perfectly. But if you kind of compare between the Pro and the PS5 right here, the Pro is doing better. It is a more consistent frame rate. It is running better. And don't forget, the CPU itself is also on the lower slower side. So for some games that may be CPU based, which this does seem more CPU based, it's not going to perform as well. But as you kind of see compared even on the chart itself, it is always at least better than the PS5, which I do think a lot of people are expecting. But when people go and spend $700 and you hear about this brand new console, if they're less informed as you'd expect, you're probably expecting like this god tier 60 FPS no matter what. Now we may get that from a PS4 to PS5 or PS5 to PS6, but once again, this is a mid-console generation refresher, which we may go and touch this again on a separate video. But people are upset about it. People are kind of like, once again, expecting more. They get their console, they want more. Or maybe they're just haters that just don't really appreciate the PS5 Pro. And I do want to say I understand. Like, if I'm spending $700 on a day one console, I'm not getting 60 FPS, it does kind of rub me off a little bit of the wrong way, because that's like the industry standard. I myself bought my PS5 Pro. I'm happy with it, and my ideal mindset is just, I want my games to run a little bit better and have things like the PSSR run a little bit nicer and have a little bit more ray tracing, and I don't mind what it turns into at the end of the day. But once again, not everyone's going to be like me, because we also had a lot of big drama when it came to Elden Ring. We covered this about 2 days ago, and I was kind of giving people the reality of it, is that not every game is going to be running at that solid 60 FPS. And that is once again running to other people, because people are having a lot even saying, having mixed feelings on this one. Some games are gaining a lot from the Pro and others not so much. And there also is going to probably be a more specific patch too for the PSSR as well. So the big issue is that, like I said, some people are showing that there's a huge improvement, which is going to probably be our next video. Duality of YouTube. We'll see what's up. But right now, people are still going to be concerned because some games are still better. They will be performing better. The specs are better. There is just better optimization. The console itself has a better SSD taking load off, the better GPU, the ray tracing, the AI, and of course a slightly better overclocked CPU, better heat sink, better mobile. Like, it's just overall a slightly better console and a better Wi-Fi for the multiplayer. But it is a valid concern for when people are playing different games that the frames are not like, this is a very close expectation. You're expecting that solid frame rate over there, that solid 120, and not having things dip on down no matter what happens. But it's also sometimes just how games work. Or some games, they just have a lot of stuff, a lot of foliage, a lot of animations, a lot of characters, and it will go and log down the game. Elden Ring has been a very prime example where people are kind of highlighting that of all things, where Elden Ring itself as a whole is a huge game. Look at how many different trees, plants, grass, rocks, buildings, mobs, characters, animations, these individual particles on your character outfit, like inventories, menus, the background, the huge tree. It's a very taxing game. And people were kind of concerned that it also wasn't hitting that solid 60 FPS. Looking through some of the charts themselves, you see a very solid around like at least 40 minimum on the quality mode on the PS5. But if you look at this, it also has that almost hitting 60, like maybe like a 55, but it definitely stutters. And that's, I think, another thing is that people are kind of somewhat concerned on the inconsistencies of it. Yeah, it's over 50 no matter what, which is a pretty big marginal improvement from the PS5. But look at the stability factor more so. The stability seems a lot closer, like it basically never dips under 40. And you can see the straight line essentially of just like, it's pretty similar, like the margin of difference in the PS5 is way lower. While the specs are better overall for the Pro, there's a little bit more jumps and kind of ups and downs, and like I feel like this dip, it almost kind of feels like a 60 to 50 dip. Seems a little more noticeable than like a 45 to 40, if that makes sense, because your eyes are just kind of trained somewhat differently. And of course, as well, there is still a lot of consistencies, and there is a lot of big wins, and there are certain games out there that are going to make and take advantage of the Pro very, very well. This is still a somewhat valid concern if people are all over the place, because once again, people are saying, hey, like, it is still the best experience out there. With the don't forget, we still have the AI patch coming out and probably some day one optimizations and all of that. Sure, because I mean the PS5 Pro is coming out like as of now, like as of today. So there's gonna be a little bit of improvements and let machine learning start cook and get your AI rolling, whatever. But yeah, people are still concerned because I still agree. The Elden Ring run will be the best, and it is the best experience, but this is why people are once again kind of calling it out and being like, well, it's $700 and we kind of maybe expected more. I still think it's fine. I think it's okay, and I do think there's going to be certain games that will perform way better, especially GPU-based games and games that are optimized on the PlayStation Studios. We're going to talk about this in their next video, which is why I keep mentioning that, but some games that are very CPU based, really big open world games such as Elden Ring. This is very CPU based because there's just so much being processed and rendered in the background for characters and foliages and maps and traveling and like fire and everything that might be going on throughout the game itself. So it's not going to do as well, but we knew that because it's basically the same CPU. But obviously some people are going to be concerned about how the console is not running as well, how it could be way better. They're spending extra money that they didn't have to, and they maybe didn't have their standards or I guess the logic of what the console's meant meant to be, as a mid-cycle refresher that just makes things a little bit better rather than a huge grandiose PS5 to PS6 jump. And I think that's where a lot of people are critiquing and kind of mad about it, because I think overall it's fine, and we're going to talk about, like as I said, in our next video on this. But at the end of the day, I think it's kind of somewhat valid if people are expecting more, because that is the industry standard of having at least a 64K, and if you can't hit that consistently, that does bode a lot of questions on, is the PS5 Pro worth it? So I want to give you guys a somewhat contrarian take on the PS5 Pro, because I've been mostly pro with it, and I want to hear your thoughts and comments on everything down below. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below if you guys want to follow all those bonus links for the PS5 Pro giveaway, and here, and subscribe here, feel free to, for the affiliate links too as well. And I appreciate you guys all very much for watching here in the first place.